Hi, I'm Abubakar Ango, and in this video, I'll be showing you an overview of Campaign Manager and also give a quick walkthrough of what the application looks like and how you can make use of it. In subsequent videos, I'll be doing a more deep dive into how you can use the applications for different use cases. Now, Campaign Manager is a part of the community app suite of applications that the community team has built and maintaining for that is helping the community team basically to manage some of our campaigns, the kind of results we generate from them, and so on. So they are basically a set of tools that we will be using to get better data from all the campaigns, programs, and events that we are running. Now, but I'll be focusing more on the campaign manager in this video. Now, basically, campaign manager helps teams in GitLab. I think the use case mostly would be community team, the social team, integrated marketing team, and some other team that run campaigns. Basically allow you to be able to create links for your campaign, add UTM tracking to those campaigns, and be able to measure impressions of the campaigns, aside from what Google Analytics will be picking up at the end of the day. And not just that, also helps you to create shortened URLs so you don't have to use services like bits.ly and so on, and also a QR code so that users that are engaging with your campaign can just scan, access the shortened URL link, and get to the call to action contents that you are trying to share. Now, and all of these within one application. Currently, for you to use UTM tracking, you have to use the Google Sheet provided by the marketing strategy and analytics team, which can be cumbersome sometimes, and you keeping track of all the links might be a bit hectic. So that is where Campaign Manager helps you to manage your campaign links, add UTM tracking to them, generate shortened URL, and also get QR codes for each of the links that you are creating. Now, in the slide here, you see an example of a campaign that has been created. It even shows the impressions that the campaign has received and how many of those impressions are via QR code scans. Now, you can set information like your UTM content, UTM budget, default campaign for all your links, and so on and so forth here. Now, and not just that, you also get a nice bar chart showing for the different days by date, how the total impressions you get for your campaign and how many of them are QR code scans. Now, for each campaign, you add different links, probably links for different social media types or links for different resources that are related to the same campaign. At the campaign level, all the cumulative impressions from all the campaign links are presented to you. When you then visit each of the campaign, you can see the individual impressions for those campaigns. For example, like the example we have on the slide here about join open source link. If I go to the page, you see that it also shows that we have a total impressions of 13 and 4 of them are QR code scans. Now, you can also see here that we have the link that we want our users to finally get to. What is the UTM medium for this particular campaign link, and what is the UTM source? Probably this means that we want to share this link on Twitter so that Google Analytics can pick up where it's coming from. Now, one other feature that we have is if for whatever reason you have UTM code attached to a link, a campaign, but you no longer want the UTM codes to be applied for the final link, you can disable it. And the campaign link basically becomes a shortened URL that it's not going to apply the UTM codes to it. Now, you can also see here, this is the shortened URL that's generated. And a QR code is generated along with the shortened URL. Now, the way the QR code works is it's basically containing the shortened URL, but with a path /QR attached to it, so that when that was done, so that we can differentiate between direct visits to the shortened URL and those from the QR code, basically. Now, let's look at some examples of use cases for Campaign Manager. Now, you are a marketing team that's trying to run a campaign, or maybe a new go-to-market campaign for some features, or for, let's say, for example, GitLab 16. Oh, you have all the resources you want users to visit. So the GitLab 16 release blog post, or some other landing page, or some meetup, or some webinar that we want to host. And you want to attach UTM codes to them, so that Google Analytics can pick up how users are visiting those landing pages and how they are interacting, where they are coming from, where they go to, and some other budgets depending on what your team use. Now, instead of using, you can use the Google Sheet provided by MS and A team, but Campaign Manager makes it easier for you. You just go in, create your account. You don't need to fill any form. Once you sign in with your GitLab Gmail account, it automatically creates an account for you. Now, if you are like the first person in your team, or you are like your team manager, you can create a team for your team and invite others, but they will need to sign in first the first time, so that their account will be created. Once you've done that, you can set default for your team. Oh, this is the default campaign all my team needs to use, or this is the budget that all my team needs to use. Then you create your campaign within the team, so that all your team members can have access to those campaigns and can see those campaigns. Now, you specify the UTM defaults, you specify everything. Then links can be added. You don't need to repeat and add UTM codes for each of the link. Whereas if you are using the Google Sheet, you have to do everything one after the other. But because you specified defaults, only specific UTM, medium, and source will be needed for each link that you're adding. And you're adding it within a very easy to use interface, making it more easier to use. Now, that is a use case. And as users are visiting, Campaign Manager is keeping impressions for each visit to the shortened URL, or each scan of the QR code, while when the final link is visited along with the UTM codes that are automatically applied, Google Analytics can also do its measurements there. One good thing about using the Campaign Manager is the shortened URL and QR code scan are permanent, of course. The image has been, you've used the image on a banner somewhere, or you've used it on a website or for some asset, but for some reason you want to change the link that is being redirected to at the end of the day, you can make that change. Or for some reason you want to change the UTM codes that are attached to the link, you can update those while the shortened URL and QR code still works. Unlike, let's say you go use bit.ly, and for some reason the campaign links change. If you are using the free version of Bitly, you can't update the shortened URL. Or you've used an external QR code service, you can't update them any longer. But because it's the shortened URL, a version of the shortened URL that is attached to the QR code, Campaign Manager automatically uses any update to the UTM codes or to the base link that you specify. Any change you make is reflected, because as soon as the shortened URL is visited, that is when Campaign Manager checks, oh, which link should I redirect the user to? Which UTM tracking code should I attach to the URL? And if I should attach the URL in the first place, then it redirects. So that makes it more easier to have dynamic links between the shortened URL and QR code. That is one use case. Now, another use case is your campaign doesn't require UTM codes or UTM tracking, or maybe in situations whereby, oh, you just want a shortened URL, you don't need UTM tracking. Yeah, Campaign Manager still solves it. You simply create a campaign, create your campaign. You don't specify any UTM codes for them, for all the defaults. You just leave them empty and you create your campaign links. Then you disable UTM tracking status for each of the links that you're adding. Then you have a URL short now. When users visit the link, simply redirect straight to the link you want them to go to. Now, it also keeps track of how many visits were done to the UTM tracking, so that by days you can see, oh, how many times people visited. Or you are running a newsletter and you want to see engagement for the newsletter. You want to see the links people visit from the newsletter. You can do that also. Now, I've talked about QR code generation, which is part of campaign link. It's automatically generated. In the future, we'll be making QR Code Studio to be a different tool that you can use and customize the QR code, maybe add a GitLab logo, change the colors, and so on. Now, the data that are collected are basically visits to the shortened URL. And if when a visit was done, basically date and time, and if it was a QR code scan, nothing else is collected. No IP address, nothing is collected. Just, oh, this link was visited, and if it came from a QR code scan. And it knows that it's a QR code scan because a shortened URL is basically go.gitlab.com/the link code. But for the QR code, it uses go.gitlab.com/QR/the code. So that is how it knows that it's a visit from a QR code. No gimmick or no anonymous or unnecessary data collection that is done. Now, like I mentioned earlier, when the main URL you want users to visit is being redirected through, any UTM code that has been set is automatically applied. And in scenarios whereby you have default for teams, default for campaigns, and so on, if they are set, it's automatically applied. I'll be showing you more in the next videos where we're going to have about tutorials on how to use Campaign Manager itself. Now, but next in this, I will be showing you a quick walkthrough of Campaign Manager itself. Now, let me open my slide, a new tab here, and go to campaign-manager.gitlab.com. Now, it presents you with this interface. Yeah, I just had to do something simple. So the first login page is just simple, the logo, and you can learn more about, you can get the user guide of Campaign Manager from the handbook page. And also, if you want to learn more about how this was built, you can go to the GitLab project. Now, the first thing, you will see a login page here. Oh, this is showing dashboard because I'm already logged in. So let me log out. Then this is what it will look like. You see a login page. Let me zoom so we can see it clearly. Now you see the login link here. And once I click on login, it will show me sign in with Google. Then it only supports your GitLab Google account. None others is supported. And it automatically logs me in. Now, as soon as you log in for the first time, it will create a team for you. We have the concept of team here is, oh, you have your team and you can add more members to your team. Now, and it automatically creates a team for you called your names campaigns, like mine, Abubakar Angos campaigns, so that you have, maybe let's say you want to run your own personal campaigns, or you want to do some shortened URL yourself, you can use your own team and you are an admin within your own team. In my case here, I'm part of the community team, an admin of the community team. So we have the community team. Here you can see the team name, you can see a description of the team, the admins. You can have multiple admins, and who created it, when was it created, and you can limit who can create a campaign, everybody or just the admins. Now, here you can set For certain use cases, for example, like the community team, we use UTM content for knowing which program is the UTM data being collected for, maybe the DE team or open source team. We had an agreement with the MS&A team that we use prefix for our UTM content. Then we have, for example, like the UTM budget for our team, you can have yours. And what's the default campaign? Community has a default campaign, UTM campaign that everyone uses. Your own team might be different. So we've set it at the team level that will have a default campaign. So anyone creating new campaigns don't necessarily need to set a campaign. So, and here you will have a list of campaigns that of the team, campaigns of the team, and new campaigns can be created by simply clicking on new campaign and you specify the details of the campaign. Now, down here, you can see members of the team who is an admin. You can elevate people to an admin or demote people to a team member, and also remove a team member. Team members are added by entering their email address, but they will need to have logged in the first time. Now, let's see one of the campaigns. We have join open source program here. So you see we have information about if it's active or if it's archived. Yeah, active or archived doesn't really do anything. If there are still links that people are visiting, the data will still be collected. It's just so it will be easier for you to know which ones are active and which ones are dormant or no longer active campaigns, basically. Now here you can set UTM content. Remember, at the team level, we have UTM prefix. If you set the UTM content here, that prefix will automatically be added to the UTM content you specify for your campaign. And we have UTM budget. We have UTM budget at team level. If you don't set at campaign level, it will use the team UTM budget. We have UTM default campaign also. You can set the UTM default campaign for all your links, but if you don't specify, it will use the team's default. Now, here you will see what is the cumulative total impressions we have for this campaign. It takes all the impressions for each of the campaign links you've created, sum them up and show you here. And it will show you a nice bar chart of, okay, for this day, these are the number of impressions. For this day, these are the number of QR impressions. Down here, you will see the list of your campaign links. You can add a link by clicking here, specifying some of the details. We'll be seeing more detail about this in the next video. While if you can also delete a campaign, but you can't delete a campaign if it has campaign links. You have to delete the campaign links first. Now, if we go here, you can see more details about the campaign link. This is the link we want the users to see. The link where the users will be led at the end of the day. Then we also specify if you have a UTM medium, you specify it here. If you have UTM source, for example, in this case, Twitter, and UTM content, we have this specified here for this particular link. And here it's showing us which campaign does this campaign link belong to. And like I mentioned during the overview earlier, you can disable UTM tracking so that the campaign link basically functions as a URL shortener. Then here you have the total impressions for this campaign link. Now here you will see the shortened URL for this link. This shortened URL leads here, but before it leads to it, if there are any UTM codes that has been set for it, it automatically attaches those UTM code to it. So let's see an example. So if I open this in a new tab, you see it will lead me to this page. And if you look at the URL here, UTM codes have been automatically applied. Now, if let's say, for example, update and say, oh, UTM tracking status should be disabled. Now, once I said, you see, it shows disabled shorten URL mode. And I visit the link again, it simply directs to the URL without attaching the UTM codes. Now, and down here, you see the different impressions. Like, oh, I just visited this today, and it's already showing on the bar chart. Like I mentioned earlier, you can delete a link if you want. Now, this is the end of this overview video. In the next video, we'll be going into more detail about, okay, how do you create a team? How do you create a campaign? And how do you create a campaign link? And also see different use cases from there. Yeah, see you in the next video.